I start from the idea that actually having had a chance to be working with AI for 30 years, it means that you have had a lot of time to make mistakes. But I think luckily I've been kind of having a little bit childhood still alive, so I have been kind of learning from my mistakes. And the kind of discussion about the impact of AI has been going on so much that we don't need to talk much about just the kind of basic idea that the kind of development in the society, business and so on is such that a lot need to be taken into account. I will discuss those issues referring to the chess example, which is simple thing. Chess is of course a very formal game, clear rules and so on, so there's still a lot, but there are some aspects of this achievement that are important. Because 20 years ago, chess was achieved such a level that AI was able to win humans with brute force and actually rule-based representation. So experts were giving rules that were divided or dividing the system to kind of go into some areas and let some alone. And the use of multi-layer neural networks and so on, that made it possible to actually achieve still a higher level of competence. And that is being applied also other areas of society. And that's why where we formally achieve or kind of reach something, we can apply the same algorithms, multi-layer neural networks and machine learning, statistical machine learning, different forms. And the basic idea here is that really we have to deal with the reality. So our reasoning, our representation of the world that we are dealing with, that has been the kind of core area in AI, and it goes to be important area. And what is relevant for us is actually that in chess we are dealing with very limited domain. But when we are dealing with, for example, medicine, we are talking about biological phenomena. And then we go even into a more complex phenomena when we are dealing with humans, our communication, language, our values even, all of those things which influence on how we succeed in the world, in our businesses, in our societies. And all those areas are becoming to be influenced by the AI developments. But rather than discussing mainly about technology and methods, it's also very important to be aware of what we humans are, because we easily think about some particular application of AI, but we don't think about what is the form of collaboration between us humans, individuals and organizations, companies, countries and so on. And in order to facilitate a high quality collaboration, we have to understand ourselves. And that's why we have to understand that our reasoning is such that this kind of statistical implicit in its form, it's explicit based on the use of language. And we are also having emotions, which is different thing than what is those that are called intuition.
Sorry, Timo, I move your microphone a little bit downwards because it's...
Thank you. Now it works better. So we have very complex system, us humans and us as a society. And then when we talk about AI, different forms, so I would say that AI is the general name for this whole field, trying to create systems that behave like humans in different contexts. And statistical machine learning has approved to be is the strongest way of approach this, but there are different areas which partly use this and so on, different forms of artificial intelligence which are used for various purposes. And when we think about us having all those different areas, different capacities, different systems that collaborate within ourselves, within our brain, within our kind of embodied system, and how they are being combined and you think about the applications that you have, the services that you are developing, and so on. So you can think about these and analyze the things from the higher level of abstraction. So you can take any of those technological areas, and you can take any of the areas that of the what we humans are, and think about the combinations which are there. So you don't need to think about only that whether this is working technologically, but you can think about whether it fills some need, or if it kind of gives us some capacities which we humans haven't had before. Often it's not a question of taking us and replacing us with something, but they are new tools that we will have. And so then the question about the competition is that, of course, companies and those organizations that want to use these technologies for their success, they need to think carefully about the combinations, about how the humans and the technologies and the data, for example, which is influenced or being involved in the process. And often the question is like what we humans have been applying for a very long time already. So we specialized into different tasks, and then the combinations of those specializations have been giving us a great benefit. So animals have been lagging behind humans for many reasons, including kind of that we have those so very good communication skills, but in general it's the way how we organize ourselves in such a way that we can specialize into something which gives a specific competitive advantage for different parts of the development. And so if we think about using AI in the society, so we have various skills and capacities that are not kind of only replaced in some cases, but it's the question of how do we use those capacities as our tools. So we are not anymore afraid of having cars or trains and whatever. So that's the question, is that we are benefiting from those tools that we have. We can solve problems, we can have success in various areas of life. And similarly, when we talk about human communication, we have both collaboration and then competition, and those both are important. We can't kind of think that we could be successful without one of those. And then the good combination of those two is important. And in my personal work during the past 2 years has been kind of focusing on the idea, how could we organize ourselves in such a way that we don't unnecessarily create situations where we lose in investments to waste for no good reason in practice. And that's something where we need to have some kind of multidimensional and multi-criteria optimization. So those phenomena are complex, and that is one of those areas where we think clearly that we can use AI methodologies and tools to actually help us getting a better future for ourselves. And from the point of view of many companies, the question is then, what are the investments that are wise? So that I've been stressing often that we are wasting we are not kind of investing enough to certain kind of possibilities, because Finland has been really kind of developing many AI and digital methods and tools for success for a very long time already in various forms. But we haven't really succeeded in creating kind of businesses and other forms of such, because we haven't invested enough. And then I would like to just raise discussion about what are the good forms of investment, because one can of course make wrong kind of investments, and there are investments into humans that are able to use and develop AI, machine learning and so on methods. there is investment into data. We have let USA especially, and nowadays also China, to go ahead very much in the area of data. And it's partly because of our legislation. So the question is that how should we actually organize our societies in such a way that we are not only afraid of being kind of used or misused because of our data, but there is also the other side, so that if one has some data regarding all Finns, we can really learn something valuable with that data, not being only used, but really kind of being served by this opportunity. All the methods that are kind of developed, which needs also investment, it's slow work, and then the computational resources, which are also a question of what is the good timing for and what is enough regarding the computational resources. And one of those important things in general is, of course, the question of trust. So the networks of trust that we have in Finland is one of our strengths here. So that if we compare with some other countries, a lot of resources are lost because of the lacking trust having around. So what, how and why is being, for example, developed. So there, if we can have this kind of collaborative situation of being trust kind of around us, so that's very important. But in general, I would like to stress the fact that we need to be able to understand how to use machine learning and other areas of AI, not only to have the understanding or the skills of AI, but the understanding what is the network through which we can apply. So where are those people? So we are not teaching every person to be an expert in AI development, but it's important to be having an understanding what are the opportunities, where are the risks, how to deal with this overall situation. And that requires also close human collaboration and trust relations. So this is what I prepared, and I would like to raise some discussion related to these issues. So I would suggest my friend and Professor Kirsti Lonka already quite some time introduced a kind of technique that we are having here a kind of great amount of expertise and understanding of various areas. So I would like to suggest that for the next 5 minutes you would discuss on these matters. So that was there something that kind of raised particularly your attention regarding, for example, some new opportunities in relation to your earlier experience, and or what those areas which are relevant for you. And in addition to that discussion, if you have actually, maybe I ask how many of you have a kind of easy access to Twitter? So how many of you actively Twitter? And so many you have a case that if you come up with some question or idea or comment in your now 5 minutes discussion, please add it to the this event.
Hashtag AI Monday.
AI Monday is the hashtag, so please add it and add the discussion here. Because we are coming to a situation where we would need to be applying, we would be foolish if we wouldn't use these technologies, including text mining and speech recognition and so on, to actually facilitate much strong communication. But just as kind of one very simple approach, so please also comment these discussions within the Twitter. Thank you.